Hey, what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and today I am taking you guys along with me as I go book shopping. I've gone book shopping a lot in vlogs and in videos, but I don't think I've ever done just like a regular go book shopping with me vlog, so I am very excited for today. I'm actually partnering with Epic Reads and Barnes & Noble for this very exciting video, as I will be going book shopping in Barnes & Noble in Union Square, New York City. The special occasion for today's book shopping excursion is because Barnes & Noble is having a huge blowout sale where it is 50% off titles. Oh my gosh. Who doesn't love a good bargain? We're gonna be buying these books anyways. We might as well take advantage when they're on sale. I will definitely leave the information for this huge blowout sale in the description below, but I know they have a ton of awesome YA titles that are half off, which y'all know are my faves, so I am very, very excited for today. If you want a sneak peek of what books are available during the Barnes & Noble Book Haul Blowout, you can check out all these awesome titles. Oh my gosh. So I haven't mentioned this series in a really long time, but a couple of years ago I read a book called The Silence of Six and I loved it so much. I actually got my boyfriend to read it. Just like super awesome hacking stuff. And the sequel, All Against Silence, is 50% off today, so I'm clearly getting it. So lately I have been so drawn to the, what I believe is called the Jane series. When My Lady Jane first came out, I wasn't super interested in it, but after the release of My Plain Jane and just all the people talking about how funny and enjoyable these books are, I'm definitely interested in this one. I've heard you don't have to read the series chronologically to enjoy it. They're all independent stories, so I'm really interested in My Plain Jane and I think I'm gonna pick it up. Something about a new paperback edition of one of my absolute favorite books that just gets me going, you know? I am unapologetically going to get this new edition. So there is one copy left of what I think is a really gorgeous cover. Oh my god, I need it. Look who I found!
It's me, Michael from Team Epic Reads, and on YouTube as Michael Book Lion.
You're here for the Barnes & Noble Book Haul Blowout?
Yeah.
Oh my god, look, you got Warcross?
Did you also get Warcross?
Yes, I did. It's my favorite of the year.
This is why we're best friends.
This is literally why we're best friends. Listen, so I have always been like a non-historical fiction reader. I'm like out with the old, in with the new, but like zombies and own voices representation. I'm intrigued. I've heard really good things about Dread Nation since it's been out, so I think maybe it's time I pick it up. This is like my life stream to be on a moving library letter, but if I'm being honest, it's way scarier than I thought it would be. Alrighty, so I am home and it is time for me to show you my final haul from the BN book haul blowout. The first book I have on this haul is Warcross by Marie Lu. I talk about this book all the time because it was one of my absolute faves of 2017 and I'm so excited for Wildcard. Oh my gosh. Warcross is a near future speculative science fiction novel where the entirety of society has been changed by the influence of virtual reality. It is in every single person's life. It's extremely accessible, and along with that comes this exciting game called Warcross, which is an international phenomenon. Our main character's name is Amika, and she is a Chinese American bounty hunter for people who are illegally betting on Warcross, and one day she accidentally glitches herself into the opening ceremony of the Warcross games. Thinking she's about to be executed for this crime, she is actually invited to go to Tokyo by the creator of Warcross, whose name is Hideo Tanaka, and compete in this year's Warcross games. But Amika is not just meant to be there as a player, she's actually doing some investigating into the darker parts of the world of Warcross. And it is just such an amazing, amazing book. This is the new paperback edition, which has this like very monochromatic chrome cover, which I really like. I think it's super simplistic and awesome. I love Warcross so much and I cannot wait to read Wildcard. The next book I have is one I mentioned earlier, which is All Against Silence by E.C. Myers. This is the sequel to The Silence of Six, which is a book I read many years ago and really, really loved. The first book in the series follows a 17-year-old, now retired hacker named Max, whose life is turned upside down when his best friend from childhood hacks into the school's live stream of the presidential debate and ends up ending his own life on screen. In a turn of events, Max is now on the run from this government witch hunt, trying to find out what the Silence of Six is and why it was worth his best friend ending his life over. It is really fun and fast-paced. I have nothing but good memories of reading it, but I just never got around to reading the sequel, and it has been way too long, and I'm so happy I finally have this book. Next book I got in this haul is A Light Too Bright by Samuel Miller. Our main character's name is Arthur Lewis Pullman III, and his life has changed when he is sent to live with his aunt and uncle after his grandfather has passed away. In the week leading up to Arthur's grandfather's death, he had actually disappeared, and it's a mystery as to how much of that was influenced by the Alzheimer's that he was suffering from. And so while living with his aunt and uncle, Arthur discovers a journal written by his grandfather at the height of his dementia, and the last line of the journal is a train route and a destination. And so Arthur takes off on this cross-country train route to uncover the secrets of his grandfather's disappearance. His grandfather was also a really well-known author, so there is this sort of fan base that Arthur keeps coming in contact with, and there's this girl with all these secrets that he meets, and it just sounds like a really moving title. My grandfather also died suffering from Alzheimer's, and so it is a topic that is extremely close to my heart and one that I feel like is almost never mentioned in young adult books. So although I picked this one up definitely based on the cover, it does sound like a very inspirational story that I think I could really connect to. The next book I picked up at the Barnes & Noble book haul blowout is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is not necessarily the next installment in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, but it is a novella. I have no idea at what point this takes place, but it is just a short, or I guess this is probably longer than most novellas, but nonetheless it is a novella following the characters from the Court of Thorns and Roses series. Being honest, while I did really enjoy my time reading the Court of Thorns and Roses series, I wasn't really sure if I was going to pick up A Court of Frost and Starlight when it first came out, because for some reason I'm just usually not as interested in novellas of series that I'm not like super invested in. And I'm not saying this is the perfect reasoning to pick up a book, but like it was 50% off and I was never going to get it at a lower price than I would have during this sale. So I do have it now and I hope to read it in the future. The next book I picked up is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen, which I actually found out about for the first time at last year's Brooklyn Book Festival. I was at a panel and Sarah Dessen was on it promoting this book, but I hadn't really thought about it since, but it was on the list of titles that were 50% off during this sale. This book follows a girl named Luna who has spent every summer working at her mother's wedding planning business, and from seeing all of the goods and bads of what is supposed to be a really really exciting time for love. She's become pretty cynical of happily ever afters for herself and doesn't trust too easily. But a swoony serial dater named Ambrose enters her life, and she is reluctant at first, but you know how YA contemporary romances go. They do grow closer, they find some common ground, and they probably fall in love. So it just sounds like a nice, lighthearted contemporary. I do have a handful of friends that say that Sarah Dessen books were like their holy grail of YA in high school, but I have never read one of her books myself, so I'm very excited to dive into one that I think would be a really good fit for me. The next book I picked up is The Emerald Sea by Rochelle Mead, which is book 3 in the Glittering Court series. I actually reviewed The Glittering Court when it first came out like 2 or 3 years ago now, and I really enjoyed it, but I never continued with the series. It was just one of those books that flew under the radar for me, but every time one of the new books in the series does come out, I do renew some interest in it, so now I'm very happy that I do have The Emerald Sea for when I want to read it. The overall plot of this series is there is this organization slash finishing school called the Glittering Court, which takes in impoverished young ladies and turns them into sort of like aristocrats, and it is in the intent of sending them off to make powerful, wealthy marriages and live a better life. So each book in this series does follow a different main character, but all of these storylines are intertwined. And like I said, I really enjoyed book 1, but I just never got around to the rest of the series. So I'm very excited that I now have The Emerald Sea to continue on. The next book I picked up at Barnes & Noble is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, which is a historical fiction novel following a black girl during the Civil War, but they're zombies. What I can grasp from the synopsis is it follows a girl named Jane who is currently attending a combat school to become an attendant, who is someone who is trained in both weaponry and etiquette, and she doesn't really care for the politics of America right now. She just wants to go back home in Kentucky, but people in her town start going missing and they're up against some powerful enemies, and it sounds like a really interesting tale. Like I said earlier, historical fiction is not my thing, but I've actually never experimented with a historical fiction novel set during the Civil War, and that is definitely a period that I learned about in history that I was more interested in compared to some other times. So I am definitely interested in this one, and I think it's one I could really like. And the final book I picked up at the Barnes & Noble book haul blowout is My Plain Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. What I know about this book is not only that it's supposedly really funny, but it's also a Jane Eyre retelling with ghosts. I personally haven't read anything from Brody Ashton or Jody Meadows, but I did read The Afterlife of Holly Chase last year, which I loved with all of my heart. I'm sure you guys are sick of me talking about that book too, so it gives me more faith in this series that I think it'll be really for me. I'm just kind of in the mood to like laugh at some books, so I don't necessarily think I need to be super familiar with the story of Jane Eyre. I think it'll just be a really enjoyable read, and I'm very excited to dive in. So that concludes my book shopping vlog along with my book haul from today's festivities. I had such a great time, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching. Definitely do not forget about the Barnes & Noble book haul blowout, which is going on right now, and you can check the description below for all the books that will be 50% off. Wow, what a bargain. 50% off is a really big deal, no pun intended. And I think it's really awesome that Barnes & Noble is making it more accessible for people to get these new releases that I'm sure you guys are excited about as well. So definitely check out that awesome sale. And again, I ran into my very best friend, Michael from Michael Book Line and Epic Reads, and you will definitely want to check out his haul and all the books that he got today as well. So we'll leave that video in the description below too. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!